Right now, at this very moment in the Premier League season, Arsenal sit at the top of the table, 3 points ahead of Manchester City, with just a handful of games remaining. And the way they got back there today tells you everything you need to know about this football club. Let me set the scene for you. Emirates Stadium, April 25th, 2026. Arsenal versus Newcastle United, a match that was not just about 3 points. It was about character. It was about belief. It was about proving to the entire Premier League that this team refuses to be broken. Because here is what you need to understand before we go any deeper into this. Arsenal had just come off 4 consecutive domestic defeats, 4 games without a win. They had lost to Manchester City, they had lost to Southampton, they had lost to Bournemouth, and then they had lost to Manchester City again. 4 painful results in a row, the kind of run that makes supporters nervous. The kind of run that gives rivals confidence, the kind of run that makes the entire football world start to write a team off. And yet, Arsenal showed up today. They dug in, they fought, and they won. So let us go through this game completely, every moment, every detail, every twist, because this result is bigger than just 3 points. And I want you to understand exactly why. Before we go further, I want you to understand exactly what was at stake heading into this fixture. Manchester City had moved ahead of Arsenal on goals scored, not on points, on goals scored. That is how tight this title race has become. A single goal separating the two clubs at the top of the Premier League. The mathematics of this season have become brutal and unforgiving. A victory for Arsenal today would put them 3 points clear at the top, with City having a game in hand. A draw would return them to first place on points, but City would still have that game in hand and would only need 1 point from it to leapfrog Arsenal again. A defeat would have been potentially devastating for Arsenal's title hopes. So when I say everything was at stake today, I mean it in the most literal sense possible. If you want this kind of detailed analysis every single time Arsenal make a major move or play a critical fixture, hit that subscribe button right now, because on this channel, we do not just read the headlines. We break everything down. We tell you what it really means, and we do it every single time. Subscribe to Melissa Arsenal Analyst and never miss a single breakdown. Now, let us get into it. The Premier League official announcement, the Premier League official account, posted a simple but powerful message. It read, Arsenal are back on top. And alongside that message, they showed the Premier League top 2 table. Arsenal in first place, 34 games played, 64 goals scored, goal difference of 38, 73 points. Manchester City in second place, 33 games played, 66 goals scored, goal difference of 37, 70 points. 3 points separate these two clubs, but City have played 1 game fewer, so this title race is not over, not by a long way. Here is how I see this. The fact that Arsenal have played 1 more game than City and still hold a 3-point lead is genuinely significant. It means Arsenal are doing their job. Every time they are asked to show up, they show up. Today was no different. The pressure on Arsenal to win this game was enormous, and they delivered. The Premier League official account celebrating Arsenal's return to the summit tells you how dramatic this moment is in the context of the entire season. The VAR controversy. A supporter account posted a very pointed observation about a VAR decision during the game. The message questioned why a red card was not shown to Newcastle goalkeeper Nick Pope, describing it as a clear denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. The post also referenced a situation involving William Saliba from the previous year, arguing that the inconsistency in officiating decisions is impossible to ignore. Let me break this down for you. Controversy in big games is never a surprise, but when a moment like this happens in a match with title race implications, every single call gets magnified. The fan frustration here is understandable. When you see a goalkeeper coming out and bringing down a striker well outside his own penalty area, the instinct is to call for a red card. That is the natural reaction, and the fact that supporters are drawing comparisons to previous seasons only shows how long this conversation about refereeing consistency has been going on. The Arsenal Zone perspective. The Arsenal Analytics account, Arsenal Zone, added an important layer to the VAR story. Their post pointed out that Nick Pope was extremely fortunate to escape without a red card. The key reason given was that a Newcastle defender named Thea was able to recover back in time, which influenced the referee and VAR's decision. Arsenal Zone also noted that referees have given red cards in similar situations before, but not on this occasion for Arsenal. Now, here is what this really means. This is a critical point that often gets lost in the noise of post-match debate. VAR does not simply look at the foul in isolation. It considers whether a covering defender was in a position to prevent a clear goal-scoring opportunity. In this case, Thiaba's recovery run was enough to tip the decision away from a red card and toward a yellow. Whether that is the right call is genuinely debatable, but the mechanics of how VAR reached that conclusion are important for supporters to understand. It was not simply a decision made against Arsenal. It was a decision shaped by the position of a Newcastle outfield player. The official VAR explanation, the Premier League Match Centre released the official explanation at 74 minutes. The referee's decision to show Nick Pope a yellow card was checked and confirmed by VAR. The reason given was that Pope did not deny an obvious goal-scoring opportunity, specifically because of the close proximity of a Newcastle defender who had the possibility to claim possession of the ball. Let me give you my honest take on this. There it is. The official confirmation. VAR looked at this from every angle and concluded that the covering defender changed the situation enough to remove the red card. For Arsenal supporters, this will feel bitterly frustrating. For neutral observers, it is a reminder of how fine the margins are in these decisions. A metre or two of positioning by a Newcastle defender changed the entire outcome of that review. Had Theo been slightly further away, Pope almost certainly would have walked, and in a match decided by a single goal, a red card for the opposing goalkeeper would have changed everything. The full-time statistics Squawker Live confirmed the full-time result: Arsenal 1, Newcastle 0. They also noted that this victory sealed Arsenal's first Premier League double over Newcastle since the 2020-21 season. The statistics from the game were fascinating and tell a very honest story about how this match actually played out. Arsenal scored 1 goal, Newcastle scored 0. Arsenal created 0 big chances, Newcastle created 2 big chances. Arsenal had 11 shots, Newcastle had 13 shots. Arsenal had 4 shots on target, Newcastle had 3 shots on target. Arsenal had 27 touches in the opposition box. Newcastle had 19. Arsenal had 45.3% possession. Newcastle had 54.7%. Arsenal won 7 corners. Newcastle won 2. Arsenal committed 13 fouls. Newcastle committed 10. Here is the part most people are missing. Look at those numbers carefully. This was not a dominant performance by Arsenal. Newcastle actually had more shots overall and created more big chances. They had more possession. They were the team with the better opportunities to score, and yet Arsenal won. 1 goal, maximum defensive resilience, clinical efficiency in the moments that mattered most. Sometimes in football, winning ugly is the most important skill a team can have, and today Arsenal showed exactly that, ending the losing run. Squawker presented a simple but powerful summary of Arsenal's recent domestic form. The list read as follows: a 2-0 loss to Manchester City, a 2-1 loss to Southampton, a 2-1 loss to Bournemouth, a 1-2 loss to Manchester City, and then a 1-0 win over Newcastle. Normal service resumed. Here is what you really need to understand. 4 domestic losses in a row, that is not a blip, that is a crisis by most standards. And the fact that Arsenal came through that dark period and found a way to win today is genuinely impressive. The timing of this win could not have been more important. You cannot afford to lose 5 in a row when you are chasing a Premier League title. The response today was exactly what the club needed. Not a perfect performance, not a 5-goal demolition, just a win. 3 points, that is all that mattered. Glenn Murray on Eze's goal. BBC 5 Live Sports shared a graphic featuring a quote from former striker Glenn Murray. He described Eze's goal as a real beauty, struck from Arsenal's 3rd corner of the match. Murray was emphatic in his praise, calling it absolutely perfect and stating that Eze is the man for Arsenal, that he always produces in big moments, and that it was one of the best finishes he had seen Eze produce in an Arsenal shirt. Let me put this in plain terms for you. When an experienced former striker with a sharp eye for finishing says a goal is one of the best finishes he has seen, that tells you something. Eze's goal was not a tap-in, it was not a penalty. It was a curling strike from the edge of the penalty area, coming from a short corner routine, hit with precision and confidence under enormous pressure. In a game where Arsenal created very little, Eze's moment of quality was the difference between 3 points and nothing. That is what elite players do in elite moments. Odegaard speaks after the final whistle. Sky Sports Premier League captured Martin Odegaard's immediate post-match reaction. The Arsenal captain's message was short and direct. We have to fight every single day. Here is my take on what is really going on. Captains set the tone, and the message Odegaard delivered after the final whistle was exactly the right one. Not celebration, not relief, fight every single day. That is the mentality of a team that understands the work is not finished, the title has not been won, there are still games to play, and every single one of them needs the same intensity, the same commitment, the same hunger. Odegaard's words were a message to his teammates as much as they were a message to the supporters. Ode's remarkable long-range record raised football shared an extraordinary statistical fact about Eberechi Eze. Since the start of the 2022-2023 Premier League season, Eze has now scored more goals from outside the penalty area than any other player in the competition. His strike against Newcastle was his 10th goal from distance in that period, taking him clear of Phil Foden at the top of that particular chart. Let me walk you through this step by step. 10 goals from outside the penalty area in Premier League football over that period. That number is remarkable and it is not accidental. Eze does not stumble into long-range goals by accident. He practices them, he has the technique and the confidence to attempt them in the biggest moments. The goal today was a perfect example of everything that makes him so dangerous from distance. A curling, dipping strike into the far corner with the goalkeeper unable to respond. That is a specialist skill, and right now, no one in the Premier League does it better. Zubimendi's first half numbers. Squawk Alive broke down the statistics for Martin Zubimendi's first half performance against Newcastle. The numbers were striking. 43 touches, 28 successful passes out of 32 attempted, 7 passes into the final third, 7 duels won, which was the most of any player on the pitch. 5 tackles, also the most on the pitch, 3 possessions won, 2 clearances, 1 successful take on out of 1 attempted and 1 chance created. Here is how I see this. Those numbers represent a complete midfield performance. Zubimendi was dominant in every measurable category in the first half. His passing accuracy was almost perfect. His defensive work was the highest of any player in the match. And his 7 duels won tells you that he was not just controlling the game with the ball, he was winning physical battles without it. For a midfielder who only joined Arsenal this season, Zubimendi has adapted to the Premier League at a rate that very few players manage. Today was another example of why he is becoming increasingly important to this team. Arsenal reached 100 goals against Newcastle. Squawk Alive highlighted a significant historical milestone. Arsenal have now scored 100 Premier League goals against Newcastle United. That puts Newcastle on the list of teams Arsenal have scored a century of league goals against, joining Everton with 128, West Ham with 116, Tottenham with 116 and Aston Villa with 107. Let me break this down for you. Reaching 100 Premier League goals against any single opponent is a major milestone. It speaks to the consistency Arsenal have shown against Newcastle over decades of top-flight football, and the fact that the 100th goal came today in a match with genuine title race significance makes it all the more meaningful. This was not just any goal. It was a landmark moment wrapped inside a crucial result. Concern about Gyökeres and Madueke, an Arsenal fan account called Arsenal Extra, made a pointed observation during the match. They noted that when Havertz was on the pitch, everything about Arsenal's play looked fluid. The build-up play was smooth. The duels were being won. The attacks were connecting. But when Gyökeres came on to replace the injured Havertz, the energy dropped noticeably. The crowd reaction reportedly reflected this change in atmosphere. The account described it as Arsenal looking like they were playing with a man down. They also noted that Madueke's decision-making had been very poor throughout the game. Now, here is what this really means. This observation cuts to the heart of one of Arsenal's most pressing concerns heading into the final weeks of the season. Havertz is not just a striker, he is a connector. He links the midfield to the attack. He drops deep. He creates space. He wins aerial duels. He is a player that makes the entire team function more smoothly. When he is absent, that connectivity is lost. Gyökeres is a goal scorer. He is direct and physical, but he does not offer the same combination of technical quality and positional intelligence that Havertz brings to this system. And Madueke's inability to make good decisions with the ball at his feet is a problem that has persisted throughout this campaign. These are real tactical concerns for Mikel Arteta. Odegaard's full post-match message. 2 separate accounts captured Odegaard's full post-match comments in greater detail. The Arsenal captain said the schedule is crazy, but it is what it is. He acknowledged that the team is used to it and knows they have to keep going. He said the only approach is to leave everything out there and fight every single game for every single win. And when asked about being back on top of the table, he said simply, that is where we want to be. Let me give you my honest take on this. Read those words carefully. There is no arrogance in them. There is no complacency. There is acknowledgement of the difficulty. There is acceptance of the situation. And there is absolute clarity of purpose. We want to be top of the table. We are going to fight for it every single game, every single win. That is the message. Odegaard has grown enormously as a captain this season. The way he speaks reflects the mentality of a squad that has been through adversity and come out the other side with even greater determination. Arsenal and the corner record. Premier League India shared a remarkable statistic. Arsenal have now scored 17 goals from corners in a single Premier League campaign. That is the most goals scored from corner kicks in a single Premier League season ever. The official Premier League account for India called them the new corner kings. Here is the part most people are missing. 17 goals from corners in one season is not a coincidence. That is a deliberate, practice, coached attacking strategy. The short corner routine that led to Eze's goal today was another example of how creative and unpredictable Arsenal have become from set pieces. Opponents know the danger is coming. They prepare for it, and Arsenal still find ways to score from corners. That level of efficiency from a dead ball situation gives Arsenal a consistent source of goals that very few clubs in Premier League history have managed to replicate. The player ratings analysis. Now let us go through the full player-by-player picture from this match. In goal, David Raya was tested early. A swerving long-range effort from Sandro Tonali required a sharp reaction save. The Spaniard dealt with it well and had a strong overall performance. At right-back, Ben White struggled to build any meaningful connection with Noni Madueke on the right side. The absence of Jurrien Timber continues to be felt in that area of the pitch, and the partnership between White and Madueke has yet to develop the chemistry Arsenal need. William Saliba was slightly aggressive in his challenges and gave away a number of set pieces in dangerous positions, but overall he managed the game effectively. Gabriel was significantly better than his performance in the previous match against Manchester City. He dealt with the pressure from Newcastle's attack calmly and controlled his defensive responsibilities throughout. Piero Hincapié was one of the standout performers. He won numerous duels, made a critical late challenge on Alexander Isak-Elanga and showed the kind of defensive intelligence and physicality that makes him such an important player for this team. In midfield, Martin Zubimendi continued to grow in stature. His aerial ability has become an unexpected weapon. He had a genuine chance to score a second goal that was blocked inside the box. Declan Rice marshalled the midfield effectively and appeared to operate in a deeper position than Zubimendi, suggesting a possible tactical adjustment to the midfield setup. Martin Odegaard had a frustrating afternoon. There were multiple moments where a quick progressive pass was available, but he chose not to play it. One specific moment where Victor Gyökeres was free in the left half space and Odegaard ignored the opportunity was particularly noticeable. Noni Madueke looked lively in the build-up to the goal but faded badly as the game progressed. He did create one good chance for Zubimendi that was blocked. Kai Havertz had the awareness to find Eze for the opening goal before his match was ended by injury. His absence is a major concern. Eberechi Eze was the star of the show. His goal was a brilliant curling strike from the edge of the box. His willingness to take that shot in that moment, in that game, says everything about his mentality. It was a cruel blow that he too had to leave with what appeared to be an ankle injury. From the substitutes, Gyökeres came on early to replace Havertz. He worked hard but did not have the same impact on the game that his predecessor had been having. He had a moment near the end where a simple pass to either Saka or Martinelli was blocked. Gabriel Martinelli had a difficult start but improved as the game went on. He set up a good chance for Bukayo Saka and attempted an overhead kick that went into Pope's arms. Bukayo Saka's return from injury was a significant positive. His first involvement was a shot that deflected narrowly wide. His presence alone changes the dynamic of Arsenal's attack. Miles Lewis-Skelly came on to replace Zubimendi and provided an option in midfield as Rice moved into a deeper position. The injury crisis analysis, and now we reach the most difficult part of today's story, the injury situation. Kai Havertz was deployed as the number 9 today ahead of Victor Gyökeres. That decision alone tells you how important Havertz has become to Mikel Arteta's system. He is not just a forward, he is a central piece of everything Arsenal are trying to do. But around the 35th minute, Havertz went to ground. The look on his face as he received treatment said everything. There was pain, there was frustration, there was resignation. He had to be helped off the pitch. Gyökeres replaced him. Arteta would have been devastated. Then came the second blow. In the second half, Eberechi Eze, the man who scored the only goal of the game, the man who had been Arsenal's best player on the pitch, also had to be replaced. An apparent ankle injury. He walked off gingerly. The Emirates Stadium fell quiet in that moment. 2 injuries in one game. Both players central to Arsenal's title hopes. Both players with question marks over their availability for upcoming fixtures. The reality for the club is this. Havertz has already been severely limited by injuries this season. He has managed just 1 goal and 1 assist in 8 Premier League appearances. His injury record this campaign is a genuine concern. Today, he scored that 1 goal last weekend against Manchester City, a moment that looked like it might be a turning point. And now this Gary Neville, watching the game unfold on commentary, made the observation that when Havertz left the pitch, it was visibly felt by the Arsenal players. He noted that Newcastle had 1 shot compared to Arsenal's 1 since the goal, but that Newcastle had 8 shots overall at that point. He described it as a worry. His assessment was that Arsenal were not displaying enough urgency or concern about the situation on the pitch. His exact observation was that they needed to move the ball quicker. The situation is serious. Arsenal are heading into the final weeks of the Premier League season alongside Champions League commitments, with 2 key players now carrying injury doubts. The depth of this squad will be tested in the most demanding way possible. So let us bring everything together. Arsenal 1, Newcastle 0, back to the top of the Premier League. 3 points clear of Manchester City. Eberechi Eze scored a stunning goal from outside the box, his 10th Premier League goal from distance since the 2022-2023 season, a record for any player in the competition over that period. Arsenal have now scored 100 Premier League goals against Newcastle. They have 17 goals from corners this season, the most in a single Premier League campaign ever. But the concerns are real. Havertz and Eze both left injured. The performance was far from dominant. Newcastle created more big chances. The VAR controversy over Nick Pope's challenge will fuel debate for days. And Manchester City still have a game in hand. The evidence suggests that Arsenal are a team fighting on every front simultaneously. The schedule is brutal. The injuries are mounting. The pressure is relentless. And yet they keep finding ways to win. Martin Odegaard said it best after the game. Leave everything out there and fight every single game for every single win. That is where we want to be. Right now, Arsenal are exactly where they want to be, at the top of the Premier League. 3 points clear and fighting. The story is not finished, not even close. If you found this analysis valuable, please subscribe to Melissa Arsenal Analyst, hit the like button and share this video with every Arsenal supporter you know. Every week we break down the biggest stories surrounding this football club in full detail. No headlines, no shortcuts, just the full picture every single time. Thank you for watching and we will see you in the next one.